What does real-world success in business actually look like? Welcome to Bearcats Mean Business, the official podcast of the University of Cincinnati's Carl H. Linder College of Business, where inspiring career stories, honest lessons, and fresh business perspectives from the people building impact in the real world come together. Tune in for inspiration, practical business insights, and forward-looking thought leadership on how ambition turns into action. And now, for today's episode. All right, so Dustin, thank you for being here. You are the CEO of two companies, Ranger Steel and CraftForce. How do you have the bandwidth to head two companies? And is there a relationship between the two organizations?
There's a relationship. That makes it a lot easier to have the bandwidth, thankfully. But, managing time, that is the biggest thing that I have to factor in.
I can imagine.
I've help from a lot of my team members in doing so, and have a lot of leaders that I have in positions that can take care of what they need to do. So a big part of that is not just there is my time management, but my time management and delegating the right things, having the right team members on board so that it's not all on me at all. I would never say that being a CEO. If you do not have a good team, you're not going to have a good company. And I'm thankful for the team that I do have and all the work that they're able to do, because without them, it would not happen.
Ranger is something that was founded by your parents, correct?
Yes, it was. Actually, we are in our 30th year. So 30 years going strong. I'd say I kind of took over about 10 years ago as far as I came into the business 15, but about 10 years ago really started taking it over and pushing things, and then got named CEO last year. And so we're trying to really take things to the next level.
What role has that played in your own separate entrepreneurial journey, which we'll kind of get to your other individual contributions and companies, but what role has like kind of growing up in the family business played in that?
I think it played a large role. When seeing my parents start their business, kind of go from my mom working at a daycare, having about 40 kids and owning a daycare, working at nights doing bookkeeping as my dad was starting a company, him and a couple other guys and some trucks, pushing things on the heavy industrial side, trying to kind of live that American dream, to now we have like 24 trucks and, Freightliners and cranes and all the different stuff, and kind of seeing that growth as I was, I think they started when I was, 10 years old. So seeing that change, not just the work that they're putting into it, working day and night, but also how that impacted what they're able to do outside of work and be involved in different things. So I think seeing that, and then I was naturally kind of brought into leadership roles my whole life, especially when you're young, athletics, right? As a point guard or as a quarterback, I just kind of fell into these like leadership roles. So it only felt right, I think, that in my stepping stones as working and moving through things, I was bound to become a CEO or in some sort of a leadership role in my life. Yeah,
there's like a tone of fulfillment I can sense in your voice. Were you inspired by your parents and kind of witnessing this?
1,000%. I mean, they are workers. Like my dad, if they're going on vacation to go sit on a beach, they're going to sit on the beach for a little bit, but they're going to be walking. They're going to be doing stuff. Yeah. My dad's looking for work. He loves farming. He's still involved very heavily at Ranger, but loves to do something else all the time. It's the same with my mom. And so seeing that attitude, that mentality, that work ethic through my life, I think it helped instill the grit in me in the same way. And when I was playing sports here at UC, it was kind of the same thing. I wasn't the biggest guy. I wasn't the fastest guy. But I was starting and pushing in a leadership role the whole time because of that. It's like you want it, go work for it.
Right. How do you compare and contrast running the two companies? As we've talked about, Ranger is a family business that you grew up with, and then CraftForce was something that you founded years ago. So how do you compare and contrast the two?
Very different in many ways. I'll start by talking about my own company, right? So in starting CraftForce and starting my own thing, I'm able to instill a lot of the practices or leadership qualities that I think are the most important in how we communicate and how we do a lot of our work, right? So by doing that, I have more influence and I wouldn't say control it, but I'm able to build it from the ground up. With my parents' business, they didn't have a lot of that background. They were grinding and pushing and growing, and also in a different time. And so that company grew and was expanding, but I think there was less of that. Let's set up the structure. Let's make sure we have the right pieces in place so that we can grow more. It was more like grow and figure it out in a lot of ways. And so, which is great. And that's how you do businesses. But I think with that coming into a family business, I think a lot of people who have family businesses can kind of relate. As you're growing or trying to make changes that might be for the better, it's a little more difficult because you need to get everybody on board, right? And as you're doing that and changing away, we're creatures of habit, creatures of routine. Making those changes are a little bit more difficult midway through. So that's been some of the challenges, but also a way that I think I've seen successes of certain things at CraftForce and certain things that we've tried that haven't worked. But by having that smaller company that I've started from the beginning, that we've kind of built this around, I've been able to instill some of those practices into Ranger, which has helped it as it's been really growing over the past few years.
Let's wind the clock back even a little bit more. Why did you want to get your business education at Linder and the University of Cincinnati?
This is a great school. University of Cincinnati was close to home. A lot of choosing Cincinnati had to do with sports at that time.
Right.
So I was coming here, and actually the engineering school had a big part too. I was looking at how do I find a degree that kind of combines business and engineering. Okay. And I thought at first I was just going to get my mechanical engineering degree and then get an MBA afterwards. That was kind of the game plan. But as you get going, you realize if you're going to be a full-time athlete and play quarterback, you may not have time for co-ops and other pieces of that puzzle related to the engineering side. But on the business side, I could do a lot of the other programs, and you could co-op at different times or summer or work for other entities. So it worked out as a better option. They had a combined degree for me, and but choosing University of Cincinnati had to do with it's a great school. Love the city of Cincinnati. It's close to home. Parents would be able to come watch me play and do all those different things. But the school itself had all the pluses, and I saw the ways that the co-op program brought out. I just enabled you to get in touch with the city and help the city grow. And I think that's still the case. So many people who go through the co-op program, they find their university, or they find their landing position, or a company, I should say, their career through that co-op program, and continue it from there.
Right. We touched on leadership a little bit earlier, and I want to revisit that. You mentioned being the quarterback and point guard growing up, and you were the quarterback of the football team here at UC. How did being the quarterback influence your views on leadership and culture and team building? And how much of that is translatable to what you do now?
All of it. I mean, in every way. Wow. I think sports transfers into business very easily because of coaches and pushing things, and how you have to have leaders within, especially in football, leaders within each division, right? You have a linebacker core, you have safeties and defensive backs, you have offensive line, you have quarterbacks, receivers, you have these different segments, but you need a leader within each one of those. And then you need a leader for the whole offense, and a leader for the whole defense, and a leader on the field for the whole team, the captains. And then you need you have your coaches who are the leaders. And so you have to have that same structure in business in order to be really successful. You need leaders at all areas. So like when I look at the construction business, you have leaders in obviously your executive, your finance, your operations. Off the operations, you may have different divisions that someone needs to be leading those divisions, right? And then all the way to the job that you're doing. You get down to a four-man crew pushing a job. Maybe they're building a building, right? You need someone leading that crew, helping make sure everything is going the right way. And so that continuation of leadership and having the same message and the same values, you see that through football, and that transfers right into business. So I think there is a great collaboration there. Yeah. And so I learned all that through football, I feel like. And so as I went into the workforce, it was like, oh, this all makes so much sense. And
now that you've ascended to leadership positions in two companies, how do you determine the leaders that are under you? Do they reveal themselves, or do you push people? How does that work for you?
Usually they reveal themselves.
Okay.
They come asking for more, and not just like more money or anything like that. They finish something and they have more time, they want to do more, they have ideas that they bring forward. They start showing themselves as leaders within what they're doing and the group that they're working in, and others go to them for answers and start working with them. And they just kind of, many times they show themselves. But as you're recruiting those types of people, or you're recruiting people in, lots of times that's what you're looking for. You're looking for the intangibles of who they are, how they are, more so than their experience. And, I worked on these jobs and I have this. You might find someone who didn't work on at all at a position who has ended up going to run that division because they're willing to learn and they work hard and they have what it takes in so many other ways. They just need some experience at what that is.
Yeah, just needed the opportunity.
Right.
Yeah. You've co-founded several companies since you earned your undergraduate and MBA degrees from Linder. What voids were you seeking to fill with those startups, and what did you learn from those experiences?
I think at the time, I didn't think Ranger was going to be like the landing spot for me. I think family business, I knew I could go in and help them grow, but I thought, there might be something else that I want to kind of build and put my name to. And those other companies, I had ideas coming out. I did the entrepreneurial integrals here at College of Business then, and so I was very, enamored by the startup world, what it can be. And as I started pushing those different companies, I always say, fail early, fail fast. Push everything as hard as you can early on. And if it's going to fail and you see that it's going to fail, then know that that's not the right direction. Either pivot within that company or say, that was fun, that was a great effort, learned a lot. Because that's the biggest thing. From each of those companies that I may have partnered into or we started that didn't end up, making it, I learned so much that was applicable to our other companies.
Let's push on that further. What are some of the things when you're sitting at your office today and something comes up or whatever it is, some sort of situation, you're like, oh, I remember this from the startup days. What are some of the examples that you can think of?
I think one big one would be relationships. Okay. So as you were talking about building teams and doing all those different things, that's very important. But sometimes you look at what's the core of a business. I take CraftForce, right? It's staffing in the trades. That's what we do. We find the best skilled trade workers, and we place them on jobs all across the country. And then, that stems up to engineers and to laborers, but that's kind of our main focus. Well, we tried to replace it with an app. Think LinkedIn, think of those types of apps that are going to have communication through a network, but we wanted people to be able to hire through it as well, more like Indeed, I would say.
Yeah, create that link.
So we try to do all this where tech would be us and replace us. But what we found out is we're all human, and so certain parts of what we want to do, deal with, and work in business has to do with the relationships that we can have. And so we found out that the people, especially who work in the trades, want those relationships. They want someone to help them act as almost like an agent. If you were thinking of acting or, the arts, they're working all day. So they don't have time to work on their next job. So they need someone to act in that way and have their best interest and understand what they really want. And so by trying to do that with tech, it didn't fill the void. It actually created, it made our business much more difficult. And what we learned, we ended up trashing that whole tech side. We thought that was going to be our leg out. That was going to be our, multi-million-dollar idea.
Yeah, differentiator.
We're going to be the first in the trades to do this. Other trade companies have tried to do it. It has not worked either because it's a relationship industry that is very much focused on that side of things. So we learned from that and what our core competency was as a company. So now, as far as how we do staffing and everything else, it's all about relationships. Everything we do, recruiting our clients, everything is all about relationships. And so we stay boutique because of that, because we know it's more important for us to have really strong relationships with our clients and the recruiting that we do, all of our workforce, versus we don't need those relationships. We're just going to let tech do it, and we're going to win by having the masses.
All right. Well, speaking of relationships and engagement, you've become involved with UC and Linder as an alum. Let's begin with your time with the Center for Entrepreneurship. For example, speaking just the most recent example that I know of, you were involved with UC Startup Weekend. Yeah. Tell me about that, and then what other things you're involved with. I guess the Entrepreneurship Center. We'll start there.
Yeah, 1819 Hub, we have some great relationships over there. Kate and some of the crew have kind of really brought us in to do more and more, and love to go over there and speak when I have the chance. But Startup Weekend recently, they brought me in to be kind of a final judge, which was fun, being the shark in the room. But honestly, I learned just as much doing that because I got to hear what I'd say the youth, I guess I'm getting old now, but everyone here at the university sees as the greatest problems and what in our world that they need to solve, that they're trying to solve with apps or whatever it may be, right? The businesses that they see we need in our world in order to handle those problems. And so for me, understanding what problems they see versus what I might have thought was completely different. So I learned so much about that, and then also got to see how applications of putting decks together, market research, how AI connects to all this now. I got to see how the students are able to do that in different ways. And it was, like I said, it was a learning experience on my side, but also great to see how far along the students are going through this university.
So what are some of your more specific takeaways in dealing with students? What are they coming to you for advice for, I guess, maybe specifically as a business owner?
I think they are coming for the leadership. How have I been able to build what I have? How do you continue that success? And then the network, I think when I spoke a few different times to them or had off conversations, a lot of it was talking about how do you get to where you're at and what steps do I need to take? And so I talk a lot about networking, how great Cincinnati is for that. You have business leaders all over the community who are willing to go have breakfast with you, who are willing to help, who actually care. So you have that side of, that Midwest niceness approach.
Yeah, they're approachable. Yeah.
Yes, that you can actually get advisors, have mentors, do all the different things that is way more difficult if you're in the Bay or New York City or something like that. So I also learned from the businesses that they were trying to build, it was all about relationships. So everyone seems to want to have more phone down personal relationships, which for me and my business is like exactly what we do, as I was talking before. Yeah. So I was able to touch base on that, and I think it connected really well with me. Yeah. That connection of, hey, we need more time with our phones down. We need to have personal relationships with people, and how do we get there? And I think the youth of our world are trying to figure that out right now because they're so tied to their phones.
Right. What are some of the other involvement you've had, I guess maybe more recently or in the past with Linder or UC? I think I know you've been a touch involved with athletics too in the past.
Yeah, I do a lot with athletics. Actually, I'm the head of our, director of our alumni for the football side. I meet with a lot of the team there with the athletic department. But on the Linder side, I've stayed in touch with the entrepreneurship team a lot. So like Chuck Matthews, yep. And I'll go speak at some of his classes. I talk with him fairly often. So definitely stay connected through that entrepreneurship side because of all that I do there.
All right, let's close with this. Instead of me being a 37-year-old individual now I'm 18. What's two maybe bits of advice you'd give to me as if I'm like a bright-eyed, bushy-tailed freshman walking through these buildings to sort of like maybe calm my anxieties and kind of help me get on my path to success here at Linder?
I would tell you that everyone has that fear of going up and saying hi first and asking for something and asking for help or talking to someone. Even, just that first initial contact, right? Sometimes you're nervous and you're like, should I say hi? Should I do that? Yeah. Should I stay at this event? Should I do certain things? Yeah, once you're past that, it's good. But everybody has it. So like saying hi to someone, maybe they're wanting to say hi to you, but they're nervous too, right? But in doing that, I say also reaching out to people who you may want to be mentors and all those things. They may want to be a mentor. They may be looking for those opportunities and care, but not know how to do it. So as an 18-year-old, go reach out to as many people as you can. Go to breakfasts, go to networking events, go talk to everyone, especially those who you aspire to be like and who you look up to, because they will help you along the way, and that will help shape you and build the confidence that you need to have the success that you're going to have in your life.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Bearcats Mean Business. If today's episode sparked a new idea, challenged your thinking, or helped you see your path a little more clearly, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share the episode with someone in your network. Thanks for being part of the conversation. And remember, real-world success begins here at Lender.